What if Max Verstappen wins another world championship? Well, that would put him in the conversation with the greatest F1 driver of all time.
Max Verstappen is a four-time Formula One world champion.
The man was so close to it in 2025. The greatest comeback that never quite happened. He went beast mode, almost doing the impossible task of winning 5 consecutive championships. Something that has only been done once before in the history of Formula One. There are drivers who eventually grow into greatness. And then, there are drivers who seem to arrive on the grid fully formed, as if they were built in a laboratory specifically to destroy the stopwatch. And Max Verstappen is in that second category. People throw around the word generational all the time, but Max isn't just a generational talent. He is a generational problem for everyone else.
Max Verstappen, who's put in max effort for max reward in a marathon season, has sealed it in the sprint. Max Verstappen, a 3-time champion of the world.
Max, you are a 3-time world champion. That's unbelievable, mate. Absolutely unbelievable. It's been an incredible year for you.
From the moment he stepped into the cockpit, he just dominated the competition. While some legends are still struggling to get a podium at the age of 41, Verstappen has been dominating Formula One for years. We are actually standing at a fascinating point in history right now. The new 2026 regulations are right around the corner, and Verstappen is no longer the teenage prodigy he was in Barcelona, nor is he the controversial champion of the 2021 season.
Turn 9, Verstappen stays ahead of Lewis Hamilton, of all the drama, of all the controversy, of all the magic moments in Formula One in 2021. It comes down to this, and it's going Dutch in 2021. Max Verstappen, for the first time ever, is champion of the world.
He is now the undisputed king of the paddock, the titan of Red Bull Racing, a 4-time world champion, and a man chasing a legacy that could eclipse even the greatest names in the sport. For 4 years, we watched a monopoly. From the controversial spark of 2021 to the mechanical perfection of 2023 and 2024. Max Verstappen wasn't just a driver, he was inevitable. He was a machine that made winning look boring. But 2025 was different. It was the year the Red Bull dynasty finally cracked, and Max had to drag a broken team to the very edge of glory. He went from being an unstoppable force to a desperate hunter, producing a season that was arguably more impressive than his championship years. Even though he walked away empty-handed, the nightmare started right away at the Bahrain test. The new Red Bull RB21 had serious problems, and a big reason was that the team had just lost their most important people. Famous car designer Adrian Newey left for Aston Martin, Jonathan Wheatley went to Audi, and strategy boss Will Courtenay also moved on. Without them, the team couldn't fix the issues left over from last year's car. The biggest shock was their speed. Red Bull was no longer the king of F1. They dropped down to being just the 3rd fastest team on the grid. The biggest problem for them was McLaren. McLaren had built a rocket of a car and was now easily the fastest team on the track. Max Verstappen was left driving a very difficult machine. He complained openly about it. The car couldn't handle bumps or curbs at all. It didn't want to turn into corners properly, and the front was so stiff that the back of the car would slide out without warning. It was nearly impossible to get the setup right, to even try and keep up with the incredibly fast McLarens. Max had to push himself harder than he ever has in his entire career.
So yeah, I give my feedback, of what I need, what I think the car needs to go faster, and that's what we tried to apply to it, to be honest.
The season kicked off in Australia, where Max managed 2nd place behind Lando Norris in tricky weather. Next up was China, which was dominated by McLaren. Oscar Piastri took the win, Norris came 2nd, and Max was stuck back and forth. But Japan was a different story. At Suzuka, a track that really tests a driver's raw skill, Max pulled off an absolutely magical pole position. It was the fastest qualifying lap of the entire year. He turned that into a win, proving that when the car actually cooperated, the Dutch Lion was still unstoppable. The high didn't last long though. Bahrain brought him crashing right back to reality. Max struggled all weekend and finished down in 6th place. The harsh truth was staring Red Bull in the face. The McLaren MCL39 was just faster, more consistent, and much easier to drive. Red Bull was in serious trouble. You could clearly see the frustration in his post-race interviews. Max didn't sugarcoat the nightmare inside the cockpit. He told reporters exactly how tough it really was.
I mean, basically everything went wrong. We had a poor start, too much wheel spin when I dropped the clutch, and
But even after such a brutal weekend, Max refused to wave the white flag. He didn't give up. Instead of letting the frustration break him, he made it clear he still had hope. He told the media that he believed Red Bull could figure out the issues, fix the car, and improve. Then came Saudi Arabia, and it delivered another crushing blow. At first, Max looked absolutely unstoppable. He smashed the track record to grab pole position, and it felt like he was about to make a massive statement. But disaster struck right at the starting line. Oscar Piastri got a much better launch and claimed the inside line heading into turn 1. Max tried to fight back around the outside, but he ran out of room, went off the track and cut across turn 2 just to stay in front. The officials didn't let that slide. They hit Max with a 5-second penalty for leaving the track and gaining an advantage.
With Max Verstappen possessing a 5-second penalty for leaving the track and gaining the advantage.
Max served the penalty during his pit stop, but it completely cost him the win. He crossed the finish line in second place, just 2.8 seconds behind Piastri. The penalty had been the deciding factor. Max was furious, but he had to bite his tongue.
Oscar Piastri wins the Saudi Grand Prix to beat Max Verstappen by 2.8 seconds.
It was another painful missed opportunity for Red Bull. The result shook up the standings completely. Oscar Piastri had now taken the lead in the championship, while Max found himself sitting down in third place, staring at a frustrating 12-point gap between them. The pain continued in Miami. At first, it looked like Max might have found a lifeline. He pulled off a brilliant qualifying lap, snatching pole position by just a tiny fraction of a second, ahead of Lando Norris. When the lights went out, Max defended hard. Lando attacked right away, and the two actually made contact. Lando was pushed wide and dropped all the way down to 6th place.
The two rivals are side by side, and Verstappen through a defensive shape, roaring around the outside to second. Lando Norris down to 6th position.
It felt like Max had survived the worst of it, but McLaren's raw speed was simply undeniable. By lap 14, Oscar Piastri was swarming all over the back of the Red Bull. Piastri waited for the perfect moment, made a patient move into turn 1, and put Max under so much pressure that he locked up his brakes. Just like that, the lead was gone.
The world champion versus the championship leader into the first turn. But Piastri powers by, and Oscar Piastri takes the lead.
Things only got worse. A determined Lando Norris had fought his way back up the grid. On lap 18, after a fierce battle, Lando finally blasted past Max.
Keeps the car on the road as he makes the pass, and now he will go chasing after his teammate.
From there, Max could only watch helplessly as both McLarens disappeared into the distance, pulling away by almost a full second every single lap. Max crossed the finish line down in 4th place, a massive 40 seconds behind the race winner Oscar Piastri. Red Bull's new upgrades were a complete failure. The car was still a nightmare to drive, forcing Max to fight exhausting, losing battles just to survive on the track. The championship picture was now looking incredibly grim for Red Bull. Oscar Piastri had extended his championship lead, leaving Max trailing far behind with a massive 32-point gap. After all the pain and frustration, Imola changed everything. It was the exact turning point that proved Max Verstappen was still the best driver on the track, even if his car wasn't. Starting in 2nd place right behind Oscar Piastri, Max pulled off one of the most unbelievable moves of his entire career. When the lights went out, he braked impossibly late heading into turn 1. He bravely swept right around the outside of Piastri through the tricky Tamburello chicane and snatched the lead. It was bold, brilliant, and classic Max. From that moment on, Max was in total control. He nailed a perfectly timed pit stop during a virtual safety car on lap 30 to grow his lead. Even when a full safety car came out later in the race and bunched the whole pack back up, Max didn't sweat it. He executed a flawless restart and just drove away from the field all over again. He crossed the finish line a full 6 seconds ahead of Lando Norris, leaving Piastri in 3rd. It was his 2nd win of the season. and an incredible fourth win in a row at Imola. More than anything, this race was a massive warning to McLaren. Give Max Verstappen even half a chance, and he will make you pay. The championship gap to Piastri was finally cut down to 22 points. The title fight was officially back on. Monaco was always going to be a nightmare for Red Bull. The tight street circuit was full of the exact bumps and curbs that the RB21 absolutely hated. Because of this, Max really struggled in qualifying, finishing a massive 7/10 off pole and starting down in 4th place.
And Formula One goes racing on the streets of Monaco. Good.
Starting on hard tires while most ran mediums, Verstappen executed an alternative strategy. While others made their mandatory 2 pit stops, Max delayed his second stop as long as possible, gambling on a safety car or red flag that would allow him to pit without losing time. As the race reached its final laps, this crazy gamble had actually put Max in the lead. Right on his gearbox were Norris, Leclerc and Piastri, all hunting him down on much fresher tires. Max was driving incredibly defensively, controlling the pace so well that a frustrated Lando Norris complained on the radio, "Max is just backing me up, he's not even pushing." Max just needed one bit of luck, one safety car or red flag to make the strategy work, but it never came. On lap 77, the second to last lap of the race, Max had no choice but to dive into the pits. The dream was over. He dropped to 4th as Norris swept past to victory. It was the right strategy call, just unlucky, but 4th place kept him in touch, just 25 points behind Piastri now. The problem? The RB21's fundamental issues remained unsolved. Barcelona was the breaking point. A late safety car left Verstappen vulnerable on hard tires, leading to clashes with Leclerc and Russell, ordered to yield a position to Russell after cutting turn 2.
So Hattie just went me off the road.
But that's the rules.
Oh, contact! Max Verstappen into the side of George Russell. We were hearing the advice not taken.
Max lost his temper, feigning compliance at turn 5. He intentionally rammed the Mercedes.
So Max has a slide and then looks like he's going to let George through. George is then on the outside and wham!
The fallout was devastating. A 10-second penalty dropped him to 10th, costing 9 crucial points and earning 3 license penalty points, leaving him just 1 away from a race ban. The championship gap to Piastri exploded to 49 points. The Canadian Grand Prix at Montreal brought a glimmer of hope. George Russell took pole and held Verstappen off for the entire race, but Max delivered a faultless performance for 2nd place, just more 0.228 seconds behind at the finish. The race was remembered for the late race collision between Piastri and Norris.
Top 2 in the World Championship side by side, heading into the final chicane, Piastri and Norris.
That sent Norris into the wall, gifting Piastri a 22-point championship lead.
Norris can't fight his way by. We go to turn 1. No, he's ripped off the front wing. The McLarens collide. Lando Norris into the wall.
For Verstappen, it was another clean, solid result. He beat both McLarens on a circuit that should have favored them, but 2nd wasn't enough. He needed wins. Austria delivered another crushing blow. A disastrous first-lap collision with Kimi Antonelli ended Max's race instantly.
Antonelli, and he's hit Max Verstappen. He's hit Max Verstappen at turn 3.
It was his first DNF in over a year, leaving him to watch helplessly from the sidelines as the championship gap widened even further. Verstappen secured pole at Silverstone, but Red Bull's low-down force setup failed in the rain. During a lap 22 safety car restart, Piastri brake-tested Verstappen, rapidly decelerating from 135 miles per hour to 32 miles per hour. This caused Verstappen to spin and drop to 10th.
Here we go again. Pick your restart moment. You cannot be. Oh, he's going to lose it. Max Verstappen spins around from 2nd position and loses a hatful of places.
Piastri received a 10-second penalty.
It's a 10-second time penalty for Oscar Piastri.
While Verstappen recovered to finish 5th, Norris won the race. Hülkenberg claimed his first career podium, and the championship gap extended to 69 points. Spa brought a weekend of mixed emotions. In qualifying for the Grand Prix, he could only manage 4th. The race itself, delayed by heavy rain, saw Piastri dominate to victory. Verstappen finished 4th, 21 seconds behind. The gap to Piastri extended to 81 points. More concerning, McLaren's pace advantage was only growing. Then came Budapest. If the season had been a struggle so far, the Hungary was absolute rock bottom. Starting down in 8th place, Max could only manage a miserable 9th place finish, his worst result of the entire year. The tight, twisty layout of the track exposed every single flaw of the RB21. It simply had zero pace. A brutally honest Max didn't hold back after the race. It was just terrible. Nothing worked. But that's been the case all weekend, so it's not exactly shocking. Instead of commanding the race, the once dominant Red Bull was stuck battling for scraps in the midfield, trapped behind cars that Max used to lap with ease. At front, Lando Norris put on a masterclass to take the victory. The result completely cemented McLaren's dominance and left Max staring at a massive mountain to climb. The championship standings now painted a grim picture for Red Bull. Oscar Piastri clung to the lead with 284 points. Race winner Lando Norris was breathing down his neck in second with 275 points, and a frustrated Max Verstappen languished in third with just 187 points. By the time the summer break ended, and F1 arrived at Zandvoort for Verstappen's home race, he trailed Piastri by a massive 104 points. That's the equivalent of more than 4 race wins. With only 9 races remaining, the championship was over. Except Max Verstappen doesn't know how to quit. At Zandvoort, he qualified third and executed a brilliant opening lap, passing Norris around the outside of Gerlach-Bach to take second. He held it until Norris fought back on lap 9. Late in the race, Norris's power unit failed, promoting Verstappen to second.
Smoke! Lando Norris has a problem!
His 5th consecutive podium at his home circuit. But Piastri won again. The gap remained 104 points. 9 races left. Mathematically possible, but realistically, everyone had written Verstappen off. Everyone except Max himself. But then something changed. Red Bull brought a new floor upgrade to Monza. More importantly, Christian Horner was replaced as team principal by Laurent Mekies, who challenged the team to stop relying on outdated simulations and trust the driver's feedback instead. At Monza, Max pulled out something special. He qualified on pole with the fastest lap in Formula 1 history, 164.465 mph average speed. Then he dominated the race, winning by 19 seconds over Norris.
Then Max Verstappen wins the Italian Grand Prix. He's
an unbelievable weekend, he called it. His first win in 9 races, and the beginning of something remarkable. Azerbaijan followed. Another pole, another victory.
And weaving across the line to celebrate victory is Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen wins the Azerbaijan Grand Prix.
Then Singapore, 2nd place, but crucially ahead of both McLarens. The momentum was building. The United States Grand Prix in Austin was where the comeback truly caught fire. Verstappen took pole and delivered a commanding performance, winning by nearly 8 seconds over Norris. The gap to Piastri down to just 40 points.
40 points away in imperious form, but there is a reason that no one has ever overturned an 104-point deficit. Can he be the first? We have 5 Grand Prix remaining to find out.
In 4 races, he'd slashed 64 points from his deficit. McLaren were starting to feel the pressure. Mexico City saw Norris win from pole with Verstappen third. The gap grew slightly to 36 points behind Norris, who had now taken the championship lead from Piastri. But Max was relentless, picking up points wherever he could, never giving up. The weekend in Sao Paulo started as a total nightmare but ended up as one of the greatest comebacks in F1 history. Max had a terrible qualifying session and ended up down in 16th place. His team had tried a new car setup, but it was a complete disaster. With their backs against the wall, Red Bull made a massive decision. They broke the strict rules to throw away the bad setup and install a brand new Honda engine. Because they broke the rules, Max was punished and forced to start the race from the pit lane. But that fresh engine gave him a massive hidden advantage. The Interlagos track is built high up in the hills, and the thinner air makes F1 engines work incredibly hard. Having a brand new power unit meant Max's turbo could push more power without overheating, giving him a huge top speed advantage to blast past other cars on the straights. Even with the new engine, expectations were rock bottom, but Max had a different plan. He started slicing through the pack right away. Then disaster struck. On lap 8, he ran over some debris, got a flat tire, and had to make an emergency pit stop. His race strategy was completely ruined, and he dropped all the way back to last place. But he refused to quit. Using the raw power of his fresh engine and pure driving skill, Max carved his way through the field. Because his early pit stop put him on a totally different strategy, he stayed out on the track while the leaders came in to change their tires. Incredibly, by lap 54, Max Verstappen, the man who started from the pit lane and suffered a flat tire, was actually leading the entire Grand Prix by over 6 seconds.
Verstappen, who started in the pit lane, leads in Brazil.
Something I didn't think I'd say, Max. At the end of the pit lane earlier, you are now race leader.
Eventually, his tires started to die and Red Bull had to call him into the pits to give him fresh, soft tires. He dropped down to 4th place, but with fresh rubber, he went hunting. On lap 63, he passed George Russell, and on the very last lap, he was swarming the back of Mercedes rookie Kimi Antonelli. Max crossed the finish line in 3rd place, just 0.362 seconds behind Antonelli. From the pit lane, with a puncture, to lead the race, to the podium. A shocked Max couldn't believe it after the race, saying, "To be on the podium from the pit lane, I didn't expect that at all. It was a true masterclass of speed and survival." It was arguably more impressive than his famous 2024 Brazil win from 17th place. Las Vegas brought the twist nobody saw coming. Verstappen won the race brilliantly, but the real drama unfolded hours later. Both McLaren's Norris, who finished 2nd, and Piastri, who was 4th, were disqualified for excessive skid wear on their plank, both just 24 points behind Norris. The championship was alive. In Qatar, Verstappen won the Grand Prix, overtaking Piastri for 2nd in the standings.
Still a contender for the Formula One World Championship. Max Verstappen will not be moved. He heads to Abu Dhabi with a fighting chance still to win it all.
With one race remaining, the mathematics were tantalizing. Norris led with 407 points, Verstappen had 395. Just 12 points separated them. The 104-point deficit had become a 12-point gap. One of the greatest comebacks in F1 history was within touching distance. It all came down to the final race in the desert. For the first time in years, Formula One had a massive, winner-take-all three-way showdown for the World Championship. The tension in the paddock was unbelievable. Here was the brutal math heading into the night. Lando Norris held the lead, but the pressure of securing his first title was entirely on his shoulders. He just needed a clean race and a podium to lock it up. Max Verstappen, the reigning champion, was relying on a flawless performance. To keep his crown, he had to win the race and desperately hope Norris finished 4th or lower. Oscar Piastri, the young gun who had led the championship earlier in the year, was the ultimate wildcard. To steal the title at the very last second, Piastri needed an absolute miracle. He had to win the race and pray that both Norris and Verstappen suffered a complete disaster. Under the highest pressure imaginable, Max was absolutely flawless. He snatched pole position by a microscopic 0.02 of a second. When the lights went out, he nailed the start and drove off into the Abu Dhabi night.
Verstappen leads.
Yeah, Max has got the dream start. He's broken that slipstream as Oscar continues to weave.
Delivering a completely dominant masterclass. He left nothing on the table, crossing the finish line a massive 12.59 seconds ahead of the pack.
And it's Max Verstappen who is making his way to victory for the 8th time in Formula One. He came roaring back, but the comeback of all comebacks will fall short. Max Verstappen wins the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
Behind him, Oscar Piastri drove his heart out. He pushed his McLaren to the absolute limit, securing a brilliant 2nd place, just waiting and hoping for the leaders to stumble so he could snatch the crown. But the miracle never came, because just down the road, Lando Norris safely crossed the line in 3rd place. And 3rd was exactly what McLaren needed.
And after 24 rounds, Lando Norris is the Formula One World Champion. Norris wins the title in 2025.
The final championship standings were set in stone. Lando Norris with 423 points. Max Verstappen with 421 points, Oscar Piastri with 410 points, 2 points, After 24 grueling races spanning 5 continents, battling through rain, shine, triumph, and absolute disaster, the entire World Championship was decided by just 2 points. It was a heartbreaking end to Max's historic reign, a valiant final stand from Piastri, and an unforgettable conclusion to one of the greatest F1 comebacks in F1 history. Max Verstappen didn't win the 2025 World Championship, but he may have delivered his greatest season, from 104 points behind to 2 points short, driving a car that even he admitted he hated at times. He produced a campaign that showcased everything that makes him special. The Barcelona collision cost him 9 points. The Abu Dhabi result came down to 2. It's easy to draw a straight line between them, but Verstappen refused to blame that one moment. He was right. Championships aren't won or lost in single moments. They're won across 24 races, countless laps, and millions of decisions, but that doesn't make it any easier to accept. The raw speed, the unbreakable will, the refusal to accept defeat, the ability to extract performance where none should exist. 2025 wasn't the year Max Verstappen won his 5th championship. It was the year he proved he didn't need the best car to be the best driver, and sometimes that matters even more.
I'm Max Verstappen. I'm 22 years old. I race because I think it's just great to be on the limit of what you can do in a racing car. That's what I love from the start. I'm the best driver because I believe that I'm the best. Because every driver needs to think like that, otherwise it's better to stay at home.
Here we go, the spray behind them.